Donald Trump is much like his presidency, collapsing right before our eyes. He is showing signs of cognitive and physical decline, growing weaker every day as MAGA continues to fracture. A stark example came today when Trump, struggling to speak, was asked about Jeffrey Epstein and launched into a 3-minute rant, clearly melting down as he recognizes the end may be near. We'll break down this very sad moment in which Trump struggled through a press conference originally intended to discuss the FIFA World Cup, apparently a little setup from his handlers. But it quickly derailed. Before we get into his meltdown, attacks on reporters, and the Epstein tirade, I want to first explain what Trump said about the issues with his throat. If you want to support our work, please leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It makes a big difference in helping us continue.
President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid about something having to do with trade in a country, and I straightened it out. But I blew my stack at these people.
Well, it sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela? You suggested...
Sounds like there's a what?
It sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela?
I thought you said there was a polyp. And I said, I don't want to hear that.
I'm not entirely convinced by the explanation. Donald Trump was clearly shouting all night. Whether about Epstein or something else isn't entirely clear, but why couldn't he have simply lost his voice completely? Couldn't we have had a day without hearing from him? This, however, is a clear example of his cognitive decline. Sure, he may be upset about Epstein or trade issues, but is that the real reason? Or is it that Trump is visibly deteriorating, losing his voice, slurring his speech, struggling to stand for long periods in front of the press, and possibly worrying about the next major collapse in the Oval Office? These are all reasonable questions. And as Trump and his team, including Carolyn Levitt, refuse to fully address inquiries about his medical evaluations, it's fair for us to ask them. Originally, this was meant to be a press conference about the FIFA World Cup, but Trump, showing signs of cognitive decline, was asked about it and immediately pivoted to something else entirely.
Mr. President, on the World Cup, if you would, Seattle and the World Cup. The new mayor-elect of Seattle is a Democratic Socialist. Seattle has...
Or beyond, I watched her.
Right, Seattle has
that's more than socialism.
Right, Seattle has 6 World Cup games. How close are you going to be watching that city with the crime in that city?
Well, if we think, and I'll have to speak to Johnny about this, but if we think that the mayor of L.A. is incompetent, everybody knows that. You know that I was there, I guess, 2 years ago, and we got all the federal permits taken care of, far more complex than the state permits and the city permits. And Lee Zeldin, who's a superstar, got everything taken care of. The toughest part, having to do with the fires, that should have never happened. If they let the water come in, it wouldn't have happened, right? Do you know that people aren't building their houses yet? I mean, can you imagine that? And if we didn't go in early on, Christy, I think we can say it. Well, the head of their police department said it. They were unable to handle. You would have had, not only did you have the fires, but you would have had total insurrection in Los Angeles. And if we didn't go in, and the head of, the gentleman, he said it, and he said it strongly. He said we could not have done it without the federal government. We did a great job. If we think there's going to be a sign of any trouble, I would ask Johnny to move that to a different city. We have a lot of cities that would love to have it number one, and we'll do it very safely. So if we think there's a problem in Seattle where you have a very, very liberal/communist mayor, I would say, it's certainly beyond just liberal. I watched her over the weekend. Wow, that's another beauty we got there. But if we think there's going to be a problem, Johnny, can I say we will move? I don't think you're going to have this problem, but we're going to move the event to some place where it's going to be appreciated and safe.
Yeah, well, I think safety and security is the #1 priority.
When asked about the mayor of Seattle, not Los Angeles, Donald Trump instead pivoted to criticizing the mayor of Los Angeles. It seems likely that his focus has more to do with personal dislike than actual policy, and some of that bias is clear. The reporter's original question, however, was about whether Trump was concerned about blue cities hosting the World Cup, yet most major sports teams in the U.S. are located in blue cities, and there's not a single consistently Republican voting city with a major team. The question itself, and Trump's response, was ultimately nonsensical. After that, Trump was finally asked about Jeffrey Epstein. The man, visibly struggling to speak, gave one of his most bizarre and revealing answers yet, with several alarming admissions along the way.
Something you posted on Truth Social last night. You urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to. Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. All I want is for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. You know, with Kennedy, we gave everything, and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything, and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages. 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans.
Let's break this down. Donald Trump is now insisting he barely knew Jeffrey Epstein, never spent time with him, and that somehow it was all the Democrats who were supposedly close to Epstein. Apparently you, me, and every Democrat were best friends with Epstein. News to all of us, so thank you for that revelation, Mr. Former President. And Trump's claim that talk about Epstein is distracting from his successes is absurd. If anything, public focus on Epstein actually diverts attention away from several other harmful policies Trump is pushing. He's preparing to gut health care, a move that could cost tens of thousands of lives. His tariff policies have already driven prices up, and he is floating the idea of 50-year mortgages because he refuses to seriously address the housing crisis. Calling the Epstein discussion a distraction is backwards. It competes with other critical issues Trump is responsible for. That doesn't mean we should stop talking about Epstein. We absolutely must. It all matters. And then there's Trump's bizarre on-camera admission basically telling Republicans they can vote however they want on releasing the Epstein files. That level of resignation suggests one of two things. Either he knows the MAGA base is splintering over this issue and doesn't want to provoke them into open defiance, or he knows he won't actually allow full transparency, whether through his own actions or through people around him, like Pam Bondi, who could claim an ongoing investigation to suppress anything mentioning Trump. They will hunt for any excuse to bury the parts of the Epstein records involving him. This fight is not ending anytime soon, and people need to brace for that. Even if the full Epstein archive is eventually released, I'm not going to stop pushing for answers. Every page, every minute of footage, every photo, everything deserves scrutiny. And even then, there will still be huge gaps. What did Ghislaine Maxwell intentionally avoid putting in writing? What evidence was destroyed to shield Trump and other powerful men? How much is still hidden? We have to keep pressing, because this entire Epstein network, what Rwanda now calls the Epstein class, has shown nothing but contempt for this country while exploiting it for their own gain. And speaking of contempt, when Trump was asked about H-1B visas, an issue that has already caused rifts inside MAGA, he delivered an answer that would have sparked total outrage if any Democrat had said it. Somehow, this press conference just kept getting worse.
The numbers that we've taken in, if you talk about investments, is trillions, not with a B, not with an M, millions, but trillions of dollars. I can't imagine having to give that money back on something that we're allowed to do. And the ones that are fighting us are countries, largely, they're back in countries that have been ripping us off for years, using tariffs to rip us off. And now we're able to defend ourselves. It really is a matter of national security, because economic security is national security. So I think you're going to see another thing happening. I think you'll see food prices. They've come down very substantially since Biden. But I think you're going to see food prices coming down very substantially.
It's important to set the record straight. Donald Trump keeps talking about the $3 trillion in tariff revenue that needs to be returned. First, that's misleading. We have not collected anywhere near $3 trillion in tariffs. The figure he's referencing is the theoretical maximum that some economists estimate could be collected over a decade, not what has actually been brought in. Trump did not collect that amount. Certainly not in just a few months. In reality, returning tariff revenue to the corporations and individuals it was taken from is relatively straightforward, essentially like issuing a tax refund. Trump makes it sound like an impossible, monumental task, but that's not the case. He favors tariffs because they can serve as a tool for corruption. Speaking of corruption, Trump has also made claims about our military that further illustrate the questionable nature of his actions.
Are you planning on also potentially launching strikes in Mexico, or putting American troops or American personnel into Mexico to deal with the...
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is... Look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? You know, there's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir. Absolutely.
I don't know who the 15% would be.
Yep.
It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
Tons and tons.
No, he can't just blow things up. That's not how governing works, and this is coming from the guy who branded himself as the No New Wars candidate. Whatever happened to that? Do you remember the Trump campaign? Has he kept a single promise that wasn't directly about helping himself? Of course not. And that's why we're going to keep calling out this administration every single day. And if you want to support that, even when I sound a little rough because I'm sick, at least I don't sound like Donald Trump did today. Honestly, the way he rambled, mumbled, and contradicted himself was wild. It was like a parody of his own administration's scandals. But as always, if you want to support the show, hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. If you stayed all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.